Jason Demers, the former NHLer and NHL Network analyst, joins us. He's ready to go. And you're fired up. I mean, your hit's not for 6 minutes, but you're texting me being like, I'm chomping at the bit. Let's get into it. So what's got you so fired up on a Monday morning, Jason?
It's Oiler hockey, baby. Connor McDavid is back. Going to get that 100th assist. And then he could just rest the last 2 games and get ready for playoffs.
What did you make?
Fired up.
What did you make of the non-McDavid efforts from the Oilers this weekend? They squander an opportunity to move into first place in the division or get back in the driver's seat when it comes to that. And as much as the first game against Vegas was encouraging, the last 2 were.
Yeah, there's some concerns. I feel like this Edmonton team, we talked about it last time, when they're not engaged, you could just see it. And it just shows. And it's almost like they get bored, which isn't a great thing, but I reserve the right to be like they're waiting for playoffs, especially like Leon and even sometimes Connor, where it's like they like the challenge and they love those big games. So when they don't get those big games, it's almost like, and you're getting this close to playoffs. I think they don't care where they finish. I think they like where they're headed. And obviously the Arizona game, you could argue they probably did enough to win that game. It just doesn't pan out that way. And then obviously against Vancouver, it's not the effort you want without Connor, but it just shows you how important he is to that team and how they need to play a more defensive game if he's not in. So, it's concerning somewhat, but this time of year, the last like 5-6 games, I never really, you just can't, you can't turn it on like a light switch, but it's also like, they're not getting blown out and playing awful hockey. Just seems like they're kind of missing a little bit, but I think they're going to blow San Jose out of the water tonight and then probably give a good effort against Arizona. And then after that, I think that Colorado game, they'll probably just I don't even know if everybody will play that game because it's a back-to-back. I don't know what you do. That's an interesting situation with Knobloch.
Yeah, I know the expectation is Philip Broberg will be up for the final back-to-backs of the season. So you'd imagine a couple of D-men, maybe even 2 each night between Broberg and Stetcher getting in the lineup, could be sitting out. Would expect Dylan Holloway to probably play in the final 2 games or the final 3 because Evander Kane wasn't on the ice today for the Oilers. But also just to wrap up the non-McDavid thing, hopefully this is the last time this year we're talking about the Oilers not having Connor McDavid in the lineup for a meaningful hockey game, I should add. The Oilers are locked into number 2, but number 3 in the Pacific is still up for grabs. It could be LA. It could be Vegas. From an Oilers perspective, which one of those matchups is better?
What do you think? You want the cap wheel in Vegas Golden Knights that, I mean, if you looked at their last 2 games, scary with missing Stone and Peter Angelo wasn't playing, or do you want the Kings, which are going to play that 1-3-1, which I think if you just stay patient and structured, they're a way better team than LA. And, I think they do have the goaltending edge as well. So I'd much rather the Kings. I think it's an easier series, not to say that they're not a hard out. I think the West is a gauntlet this year, and there's probably of the 8 teams, 5 could contend for the Stanley Cup. I don't think the Kings are one of them, but I think they're definitely a team that's going to be hard to get out. But I would much rather them start than Vegas. You're going to eventually have to go through Vegas, but they play well against LA, and I think they've kind of got them figured out a little bit. And even though it's going to be a hard out, Vegas is, you don't know what you're going to get with Stone coming back. And if he comes back at 70%, or even 50%, a lot of teams are in trouble. So I think I'd leave them to, I feel like it's lining up like they're going to get Dallas. And I mean, that's let those 2 kick the shit out of each other. And from there, work your way. I think it's a better setup for Edmonton if they get LA first round.
I would totally agree. Let Vegas and Dallas, like you said, beat the shit out of each other.
It also buries them on the other side of the bracket.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't see them for a while, or it takes them out. Dallas slays the dragon for us.
Yeah.
And then we have, a nice path to the Western Conference Finals, and then we have to figure out how to play a team like Dallas, or most likely, my guess, Winnipeg.
Yeah, Winnipeg. I like Winnipeg. Winnipeg is kind of my dark horse too. I've watched Dallas now for 2-3 games, and they scare the shit out of me as a team to play, just because they have a lot of confidence. They got that youth. I don't know how that youth's going to play in the playoffs, because they have some young guys that have been shooting the lights out, but they showed it last year. So I think just Winnipeg with that structure and Hellebuyck, and they're peaking at the right time. I mean, they're a scary out. So I'd much rather avoid them. And then Vancouver, Vancouver get Nashville. I think that's the best matchup for Vancouver. I think Vancouver probably loses in the first round if it's any other team, because I don't think they play LA well, and I think Vegas walks all over them. So I think Edmonton, if it stays like this, I think this is the perfect opportunity for them, because I do think they're a better team than Vancouver, and especially with Connor in. And I think come playoff time, they can definitely make some noise. So I think right now, as it stands, this is what I would want as an Oiler fan. Now, as a player, you can't have that mentality. You kind of got to be like, whoever we get, and we're running through everybody, because in this division, you're going to have to, no matter what. But as a fan, I think this is how it should be set for the optimal success for Edmonton is this setup.
So obviously the big news in the NHL outside of Edmonton is the Arizona Coyotes are not going to be the Arizona Coyotes anymore. What do you kind of make of that whole situation after playing there for a few years?
I got to be careful, because I work with the NHL Network, and I'm happy what the NHL did buying the team. It's just that owner, that Morello is I have personal stuff with him, and then obviously just what he's done with that team. And the sad thing about it is, just to kind of put a bow on it, is the players are going to be fine. There's a little bit of annoyance where you have to move and uproot your life, and completely understand that. But so many people that work around the rink, so many beat writers that are there, that are friends of mine that I've worked with for years, and seen all those people either are losing their jobs or they don't know what's going to happen. So there's so many ripple effects that are going to happen, because it was so mismanaged for years. And the nail in the coffin was this ownership group that came in and just kind of put a grenade into the middle of this and blew it up. And whether he gets that land and brings another team back, I mean, that's 5-6 years away at least. So there's people that have bled for that organization, that have worked tirelessly to get the word out, to build the community around, which there's a lot of youth hockey in Arizona that's really exploded growth wise over the past 5 to 10 years. That was all supported by a lot of efforts from, not obviously the ownership group's donating the money, but it's the people, the small people on the inside that are doing the work and knocking on doors and growing the game. And it's sad, to be honest with you, because like I said, a lot of friends of mine that I know within the organization and on the outside that work hand in hand are not going to have jobs anymore. And the owner made a profit on the team, so it's like you can get mad because he is paying the contracts and he is paying everybody. So yeah, there's that sense of it, but the way it was handled was just poorly done by them. I think the NHL did a good job, and as good as a job as you can do, with trying to keep it afloat and then saying, listen, this is the best for the league. So I do think the NHL stepped in at the right time. Now, the way it was handled with guys finding out on Twitter is kind of tough. And anytime you find out that you're moving, a lot of guys just bought houses, and they probably, I always say where there's smoke, there's fire. So they might have known a little bit more a couple months ago and could have planned better, but it is what it is. They're employees, but yeah, it's just sad, because I've seen what it could be if there's a rink in the downtown and there is fans there. And I know there's people catch so much flack and people within the organization, like there's no fans there, everybody on the outside, but there is a fan base there. I've spent a lot of time within the youth hockey space there recently, and a lot of guys that played for the Coyotes all coach the youth hockey out there. And there's a ton of kids that are fans, and there's a ton of kids that play because they support Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz. They supported, guys like Chikrin, Austin Matthews. You look at Matthew Nyes coming out of that area, Mark Kastelik, Austin as well. It's like there's a space there for it to continue to grow. It's not the Canadian market, which will always be better and more. The fans are more passionate for the game there, but there is a market there, and it's like for the NHL to thrive and for even the Canadian markets to thrive, it needs to thrive in the States as well. So hopefully this thrives in Salt Lake, and it could create a great rivalry for Edmonton. I mean, it's a little bit more north, and I think the change will be good, but it is just sad at the end of the day that this is kind of the way it went down for the city. And, they had that Tempe vote that would have been a good chance that didn't work out, unfortunately. And that was just bad marketing by the ownership group. They didn't spend any money and they got basically outmarketed. So yeah. So like I'm showing you that this is probably one of the other reasons I'm hot under the collar today, because I'm reserving the right to not say anything too bad. But like I'll say, the NHL, I think, did a good job handling this situation in the sense of it was time to move the team and they stepped in, and hopefully this benefits the players, the league, and I'm hoping, praying a lot of the people that are working within that organization get to keep a job and get to keep working.
Yeah, and a lot of people kind of take this as an opportunity to dump on, the NHL trying to force themselves into a market they have no business being in. But Dallas is a warm weather market that has supported an NHL team really well. Tampa Bay has a great fan base. I know that comes with winning as well a little bit, but it also, the second part of that is just running the organization properly and doing things the right way. So it is definitely frustrating to see it not work. I know there's the option for it to potentially come back, but again, it'd be coming back with the same owner in 4 or 5 years. So that just, I don't know how I feel about that exactly. Wanted to wrap up with a quick look out at the Eastern Conference. Obviously, you said you do stuff with the NHL Network. That playoff race is getting really, really, really interesting heading into the final 2 games of the regular season.
Wild.
I want to see Pittsburgh get in because I want to see Sid get one or another crack at the Stanley Cup playoffs. Is there 2 of those teams? I know the Islanders are kind of in, so maybe say for that second wild card.
Well, the Islanders
out of that group.
Yeah, I mean, the Islanders, if you look at it, if Pitt wins tonight and Islanders lose tonight, they play each other, and Pitt's 2 points back with the tiebreaker. So they're not in. They need this game tonight. So I think the Islanders do sneak out a point, but because the Devils are playing no Jack Hughes, and I think they'll kind of get walked all over. But I mean, I would love to see Pitt get in. I think we all would. What a story. I mean, I'd like to see Ovi get in, but that team I've watched that team a lot all year trying to figure out who the hell they are. And I love Ovi and Charlie Lindgren and how they've battled, and that coaching staff, what they've done with what they have. But I just don't want to see them in a playoff spot. It's going to be a sweep. It'll be quick. It's just one of those, they're winning to just extend their season by 1 week. So Detroit's one I kind of supported most of the year just because I like the style in which they play. There's a lot of great storylines, but I would like to see either Pitt or Detroit get in. I think those 2 teams as a whole would be very exciting to see in the first round. I think Detroit, if they make it in, could surprise some people. Philly would be great for the Tortorella aspect, but I think we all called that they weren't going to make it. And it's another team that's kind of like, if they do make it, they're limping in. And that's an understatement. And with the goaltending they've had and all the issues, unfortunately they lost Carter Hart and Urson's been great, but he's just having to do so much. And then they bring in this Russian kid, Fedotov, and he is good and all that, but it's just there's just not enough there. So it's like, for storyline aspects, Pitt's the best team to make it in, and then if not Pitt, Detroit for me. So that would be those would be my 2. Islanders, I think, just watching them their last 3-4 games, in that game against the Rangers, I mean, they're a scary team right now. They're playing tough. They seem like they're playing pissed off, and I don't know if I'd want to get them in the first round, especially with both those goalies kind of finding their game all of a sudden.
Yeah, that race for the top spot in the Metro is even interesting right now. I know the Rangers have 1 game and they're in the driver's seat. If they win tonight, they get it, but I mean, you would get the Islanders potentially if you're in second, or you could get that final wildcard team, which, like you said, could end up, or sorry, you might actually end up. Oh yeah, no, it'd be the final wildcard team. It'd be Washington, because Boston, I think, is on track to face Tampa, which, man, I'd be shaking in my if I was Boston having to play Tampa right now.
I know, again, Boston finishes first in the season, and they get just a hot Florida team that's just going to maybe steal it from them. Yeah, I wouldn't want Tampa right now. They're firing on all cylinders, and especially with that pedigree they have of just winning in big spots. Yeah, that's who probably they're going to get. And I mean, it could be interesting for both Boston and Toronto. Toronto getting Florida again. That's going to be interesting. But I honestly see this East. There's only two teams I see that come out of the East, and it's the Rangers or the Hurricanes. I don't think there's any team that could stick with those two teams right now.
Not even Florida, eh? Just
I think
they play.
The thing with Florida is I feel like people have caught on. They don't have a rush game. All they do is rim pucks in and try to play along the yellow. And I think a team like Carolina does that same style, and I think they can take them out. And then New York plays that nice 1-3-1, and they play pretty defensive in the neutral zone. I just think that last year they surprised everybody, and there's no surprises. Everybody knows, so no one's going to get caught off guard with them. And they're as good as they stay healthy. And that game they play really does wear on you. So I don't know if they'll catch lightning in a bottle again. And I just think, like, Carolina is unbelievable if you watch them right now. And the Rangers are with Shesterkin are really solid. So it's one of those two teams. I think I have picked the last month. Since those trades, I think Carolina does it. I just think they're so deep. And if Freddie Anderson's back healthy, like he's shown, I mean, he is unbelievable. He's a top 5 goalie if he's healthy. And it's just their D-core as well. Like, they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah, that Metro division, the top of it at least, looking good. 5 wins in a row for the Canes as it sits right now. Jason, appreciate your time as always, man. Next week, we'll be chatting about an Edmonton Oilers playoff game. Look forward to doing that.
Let's go. Come on, Oilers. Fuck.
There you go. Jason's fired up. Former NHL defenseman Jason Demers, NHL Network analyst, joining us on the Star Mechanical guest line, and he'll be around for the whole playoff run. And as you can tell, he will be fired up for the entire playoff run as well. What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.